Apostate prophet, YouTuber, ex-Muslim researcher. I think I'm going to meet him soon at the debate he was supposed to be doing. They changed it. But there was a gentleman who he highlighted who was in Sweden and was tragically deleted for burning a Quran. So what he says is, whether we like it or not, one should be allowed to burn the Quran, and one definitely should not be killed because of it. It's a bloody shame that Salwan Momika is in honor of him and freedom of speech. I post this picture. Those who deny the freedom of speech to others deserve this. This sort of stuff keeps happening to people who speak out against Islam, right? The guy was deleted in Sweden by Islamicists. Mass Muslim immigration will cost our Western freedom of speech. We may have freedom of speech in the law to some degree, but that won't matter if people know they realistically may be deleted if they criticize Islam. So this is this dude's Iraqi Assyrian refugee in Sweden and an atheist anti-Islam activist who is known for arranging public demonstrations where he burned and desecrated. He was killed on 29th December during a live broadcast. Oh my gosh, this was live on TikTok? That is terrible. Yikes. So this is someone, you know, and this is like a whole movement of folks who are come out of Islam. And unfortunately, a lot of them are atheists, you know, because of how much trauma that is. And of course, the believers rejoice today. So what are believers rejoicing about today, according to the Muslim Cowboy? Yeah, this is super tragic. Here's what's wild about it. The fact that this happened in Sweden. I understand if this happened in a country with Sharia law. I get it. That's their land. They got their own laws, and they want to, you know, they want to turn up and institute their religion. So I get that it would happen in a country with Sharia law, in a country where you can't criticize Islam. That makes sense. That does not make sense for it to happen in the West, right? That does not make sense to happen in the West. Now, here's the flip side of it. I'm also not fond of burning the Quran. Like, I think someone can have the right to burn books if they want to burn books, but not be deleted for it. Both things can be held true. I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace. Right, both things can be all true. So if someone wants to make the provocative notion of burning a flag or the Bible or whatever, I don't think the consequence of that should be that they get deleted. Now, again, he's coming as a refugee with a lot of hate and hostility towards Islam. That's his shtick. He's an activist, right? And these guys do this sort of stuff. They make Islamic origami with or Quran origami, and they kind of do this stuff to intentionally poke and to create an emotional response. My question is, why is this stuff happening in Western countries? Meaning that, are the policies on an immigration standpoint so loose that so many people are coming over, and some of these people are coming over and they're culturally Muslims and they become more radicalized because they're in the West? Or are they already here and they're getting radicalized over the internet? I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know. But I do think someone in principle should be able to say or do something I would never say or do without having their life taken for it. Now, on the flip side to all that, I also am not jumping out the window and this is where Alex O'Connor had a point, and poking the bear with Islam, knowing how the immigration situation has happened and how many of these folks are coming over, and their paradigm is totally different. I, as someone who is responsible to provide and lead a family and a team of people, also know that I am not jumping out the window and doing these sorts of theatrical things, even though I think someone else should have the right to. Why? Because I'm counting the cost and I'm saying, yeah, this isn't worth it. I disagree with Islam. I don't think it's helpful or true. I think it's a net negative. At the same time, I'm not jumping out the window and doing this sort of stuff, right? And so I think anyone who does, I think is being provocative, and at some point, it should be counting the cost on what does it mean to engage in this sort of behavior. So both things could be true at the same time. Someone can and should legally have the right to do this if they want to do it as an expression of free speech or whatever, while at the same time, hey, you're kicking a hornet's nest. You're playing with fire. You are intentionally aggravating people that you know will take it there with you. And I just don't see the point in that. So even though we would scoff at an Alex O'Connor and be like, well, he stopped going hard at Islam, or Richard Dawkins, he stopped going hard against Islam because they're a little crazy. Yeah. What? Yes, you would. Now, to me, that just shows that, in my opinion, that it's an inferior paradigm where your only way to resolve your issues is with violence, not with debate. But yeah, I get it, right? I've intentionally stayed away from doing these sort of things, and I'm literally a religious refugee, right? And there's a strong overlap with the reason why I came out to America, seeing this sort of stuff firsthand with the Arzis and the Muslims there, and the overlap between them not liking Armenian Christians and there being like a literal ethnic cleansing from the land. They got Armenians out of Azerbaijan. Like, that's a part of my own origin story. And so when you have a certain degree of responsibility, like a family, you have to count that cost. And I actually think this is why Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 7 that it's better to be single than to have a family in the context of ministry, because persecution was really real in that context. Meaning that from a biblical standpoint, if you have a family and you got a wife and you got a kids, you can't just be out here doing this sort of stuff and be shocked when there's consequences, right? So there's a dynamic to this that I think we're uncomfortable to talk about, where, hey, like, are you willing to count the cost? It's very easy to dismiss somebody as a coward from behind a computer screen, right? Very easy to dismiss somebody as a coward from behind a computer screen, okay? Or you go down and start burning and demonstrating this in this way. I don't recommend it. Now, that doesn't mean that that validates their perspective. No, I think that this sort of reactionary nonsense where you're getting violent with people because they are criticizing your faith, to me, shows an inferior perspective that is weak, not strong. Yeah, super tragic. And again, I don't know much about this guy. It seems like this was his shtick, is doing this sort of stuff. And I'm sad that this happened. And I know that apostate prophet's life has been in jeopardy. He just recently, they canceled his opponent who was supposed to debate him because there was some overt threats in his modern debate discussion that was supposed to be happening in February 15th. It's the same debate lineup where David Wood and Alex O'Connor are going to be debating, and they had to remove his opponent from that because he had a physical threat against him. How do you engage these folks? How do you engage this community? I don't think that not all Muslims, because there's a difference between Islam and Muslims, but not all Muslims, but many Muslims don't care to assimilate. They don't care to conform to the Western way of life. They don't care to assimilate to a degree of, hey, you do your thing, we'll do our thing. freedom of speech. Like these are Western values, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. The idea of freedom of speech is a Western concept. Super sad, man. And it's I don't know. But yeah, I would just say count the cost on this sort of stuff.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.